Every city has its own pattern. For Bangalore, the pattern has been mostly selling it to Tier 2, Tier 3 cities. It could be Kolar, it could be Tumkur, it could be Chanpatna, Ramnagar. A decade ago, Bangalore ponies were ending up in pharmaceutical companies which are involved in anti-snake venom manufacturing. But there was no NGO back then, 10 years ago, exclusively dealing with working ponies. The owners sense that the lives of their own animals, when they end up in the pharmaceutical laboratory where blood is drawn almost, about 20, 30 ml every day, to produce anti-snake venom. They kind of knew the conditions that the animals live in. So, since the time they are aware of the fact, they've not allowed a single broker. A broker is a person who would, buy the animal from the caretaker and sell it to the pharmaceutical company. Not a single broker has been able to step into Bangalore and take a pony from here and hand it over or sell it to the pharmaceutical company. They actually beat them up. There have been instances where the brokers have been beaten up. This was in early 2000s. So that way, see, the owners themselves, we say, they're inflicting cruelty, but they're showing some kind of animal welfare notion when they know that if my animal ends up in the laboratory, it probably lives a much sadder life. So this is the pattern right now since Samabhava was established in 2010. Many of the owners have come and handed over the animals to us, very healthy animals. Some of them are just 6 years old, 7 years old, but I can't take it anymore. I still get requests from the Tanga pony community. Saab ye goda le le saab, isko main dusra jagah kaam nahi karna dekhna chahta hu. But I said, bhaiya nahi, mera haath band hai, I tell them. We try and speak in the Shivajinagar Urdu, slang. So there's also a particular dargah in Chintamani in Kolar district where they used to leave the animals. So this was about again 10 years ago. But the animals were being kidnapped there, again sold to a pharmaceutical company. So the ideal scenario would be, I don't know, government entity or some big rich guy who has about 100 acres, somewhere which he can spare just for the animals, and it has to be a lifetime commitment. That would be the ideal scenario. With more open space, it simply means less human intervention, which means you'll have water bodies there, you'll have natural grazing, which also helps you save your costs. You need not buy any feed. So that is the way I see it. But it's a very ideal scenario. I don't know how far anyone would be willing to dedicate about 250-300 acres just for the working ponies of Bangalore. Yes, that kind of an education has to be ingrained in those who are breeding. Breeding doesn't happen in Bangalore. Pony breeding doesn't happen in Bangalore. It happens in Tamil Nadu across the border. A lot of ponies are picked up from Tamil Nadu. So yes, but that needs an NGO with a special focus towards eradicating breeding of ponies for commercial use. Unfortunately, how much ever we would like to do it, we can't simply because of time constraints. I have no answer. If you can give me some clues, I would be happy to listen to it. That's the ideal scenario. I'm looking this only from the animal rights perspective, or the equine rights perspective. I completely I agree with you. It's a question of bread and butter for genuine cases. In Bangalore, you have a lot of people who run a cart today, and tomorrow they are in some workshop doing some welding work. Day after tomorrow he is in a garage doing tightening a screw of some kinetic Honda. I was under the same impression like you, before starting the NGO. When I interacted with these people, the people above 45, 50, some of them even have their ponies, who make the ponies work. They're called drivers or caretakers. 70 years, genuine cases. The new generation people, I don't tend to believe that it's a question of bread and butter, because they themselves are doing multiple jobs. And even if it's a question of bread and butter, even for the young, let's assume, for the old, yes, government, any entity, could be an NGO which is rich enough, provide them, alternative, opportunities which is of the liking of the person. We had dancing bears in India 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. Bears, fortunately come under wild species, so there's a wildlife act, and the law helped, the rescue and rehabilitation of wild bears. Equines, though they have wild instincts, all my equines show wild instincts. That's one part which I forgot to emphasize. But all my equines show wild instincts, but they're still classified as domestic. So the kalandars, the bear owners, the kalandars, wildlife SOS engaged with them. They trained them in carpentry, tailoring. They gave them an alternative livelihood. Not a single bear in India is a dancing bear now, thanks to this NGO. If my NGO or any other NGO can recreate that kind of an environment for the working ponies and horses, at least for the city of Bangalore, that would be a huge achievement. I think it ultimately trickles down to space, manpower, finance. Three main aspects for large animal management. So if I'm struggling for this month to pay my last load of grass which I bought from the vendor, and a lot of other financial issues which I have in my mind, every 2 hours someone calls you up, a bill, you have to pass this bill. What other option do I have than look the other way? So unless the issue with working equines is horses, the working animals or the beasts of burden, compared to dogs and compared to wildlife, the critical mass is less. So I was glad I'm speaking in front of an audience after 5 years. The first time I spoke, after 6 years, sorry. First time I spoke was, when we had a 1 year, kind of a get together of all our donors. After that, I've not spoken simply because no one wanted to call me to speak on, animal welfare. And in animal welfare, probably ponies and horses would be a trivial thing. When you have, far more, tigers, elephants, dogs in terms of numbers, in terms of environment, importance of tigers, Project Tiger, government itself is funding it. And I mean, if I'm speaking, if I'm a voice of one species, one person in Bangalore, how much more, can I, the awareness can come about. So if the critical mass turns towards, let's say, towards, equines, tomorrow could be towards working cattle, which again pull, transport heavy materials. If you go to SJP Road and KR Market, you see them also in very pitiable conditions. So it trickles down to public support. I've not spent less than 40-50 lakhs on my own NGO. I had to sell my property to run the NGO, and I'm almost penniless now. My fellow trustee Arun Rangaswamy, he's been donating 10,000 since 2010 every month. So we get more public support. I think that is a beginning where I need not turn the other way, and I can just go and pick the animal and give it a better environment. I've reached a saturation point personally in terms of my individual capacity. It's the last I've pushed myself. Taking more animals, and I've been working full time from September 1st recently. Constant monitoring doesn't happen. So if I take a new animal, you don't know what kind of life, in your absence, what your staff is doing. Of course, the staff is also on the same page, but the kind of dedication standards you set for yourself is not replicated. Even if the staff reaches 10-20%, that would be a big achievement. So we have a CCTV camera, and whenever I have time, I see what's happening. A lot of measures. So CCTV, in the Palace Ground Shelter has come to use, a lot of corrective measures. I've limited myself, though I'm talking about equines, I've limited myself and the NGO to working equines, which is, the Tanga pony, which beasts of burden, which transport materials. I've not tried to engage with, the racing community or the riding community, simply because I think they are very well off themselves. They can do something on their own. We don't have the kind of manpower to engage with them, have a discussion, have a dialogue. So engagement is in very limited capacity. So with regard to your banning of racing, you meant. I mean, if there's any person who would like to discuss, talk, engage the other party, talk, Samabhava can be the platform or the mediator. We can't do it ourselves because of our own pressing issues internally. Ideally, yes. I mean, as a vegan, I personally, even the way Samabhava looks at it, we don't want to use animals for work of any kind. But practical constraints are a different topic altogether. We learn on the job. We engage a veterinarian and a few of the Tanga pony community at a very great level. In the sense, like I would the veterinarian would come now. I would probably bombard him with about 50 odd questions. I would, after every question, I would probably kind of offer an apology. Sorry, doc, I'm taking your time, but still press my point. So a few of the time, so veterinarian has grasped what our intent is. So the veterinarian who comes, he would know, this NGO doesn't like antibiotics unnecessarily. Let's give it as a last measure. A lot of things recently, I managed to crack a hoof issue online by reading a lot of articles, which none of these people from the scientific community could crack. I've not earmarked the photo of that pony. If it were, I would have shown you. So it is. I'm a paravet. I'm a certified paravet. So I can give injections, intramuscular, intravenous. But decision it always has to be in consultation with a competent veterinarian. Anytime there's an operation, we've had a few cases where the ponies have to be gelded. Gelded is nothing but neutered. If the pony is young, below 6-7 years, we, because of the aggressive nature, we geld him, neuter him. So that time, we have to open everything. I can't stand it. It is, probably just take a half a second glimpse and turn back, walk a few steps, and just come back after the surgery. I am emotionally that way. I'm very weak. So, ma'am, this synchronization of different animal welfare groups, it's a discussion which is happening for the last 1 or 2 decades now. I have a rapport with QPA. Sometimes just 2 months ago, when I spotted a pony, people used to call me up, and I said, I requested QPA to take the animal in. QPA happily took the animal in. After 1 week, QPA called me and said, they are full. Can I take an animal in? And though I had made a decision to not to take an animal, I had to take the animal in. This was about 2 months ago. But this is the last. I can't really take any more animals. So it is on, if your levels of philosophy and your policies match, yes, you can. In terms of a platform where many animal welfare groups come together, yes, there is something called as FIAPO, Federation of Indian Animal Protection Organizations, which is in all the states in India. So they have annual meetings. So there's a lot of knowledge transfer. I've not been part of that group very actively because I have to address my own imminent NGO responsibilities. So if there's any NGO which can share the same kind of policy and philosophy that Samabhava is sharing, yes. Euthanasia, the legal process is a veterinarian, after sound examination, has to euthanize an animal only if the animal has no chance of survival. It's part of the veterinarian's oath. So the veterinarian takes his oath at the time after graduating that if there is no other provision for me to revive the animal, then I resort to euthanasia. I can't decide on euthanasia. It is the veterinarian who has to decide, but I can always convey my observations to the veterinarian. This animal is suffering, this animal is suffering. In a way, I can influence the decision. But the decision has to be taken by a veterinarian in consultation with someone like me who's managing the NGO. Only when the veterinarian says, no, Sandesh, this is the last option we had, and we've explored it. Even then, euthanasia is again a big, it's a vicious circle, because sometimes you are inclined to euthanize an animal, and you fear that if you euthanize it, then you probably regret that you've euthanized it a bit early. If you don't euthanize it, then if you eventually euthanize it, then you'll regret that you've actually delayed the euthanasia. We've rescued 54 equines. 12 have been euthanized by us, which is a staggering 22% of our rescues. And to the outside world, when I say 22% of my animals are euthanized, what is the message that it conveys? It conveys it's an euthanasia NGO. But the reality is not that. You've seen how much of effort we've put in terms of reviving JK. I would probably bet any other NGO in the world would have probably put him down because of the nature of his fracture. We revived him. But still 22% of our equines are euthanized, and I don't regret till date. Not a single regret has in terms of euthanasia earlier back, because when you get into the euthanasia cycle, it's again a lot of questions to and fro with the veterinarian. Then if someone is sponsoring an animal, you have to also engage that person and seek his or her advice. I mean, you and the veterinarian would take the final call. 2 months ago, we had to euthanize one pony by name YOLO. Just 1 month ago, there was an old ex-riding horse by name Hero. We were about to euthanize it, on a specific day. He died a natural death. Donations outside India, something called as FCRA, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. Very, very stringent. 2011, we received a donation from an Anglo-Indian from Bangalore who's gotten settled down in Australia, and Australian citizen, but still an overseas citizen of India. So he gave a check of 1 lakh. His bank was State Bank of India, SBI main, St. Mark's Road. So I took the check, deposited in my bank, didn't use it. Then I got in touch with my CA and I said, this, does it come under FCRA? CA said yes, it comes under FCRA Act. So then, I wanted to be clean. I could have, used that money because the check was put in our domestic account, I could have used the money, but I wrote to Minister of Home Affairs, I've taken the check. The thing is, the act of accepting the check and putting it in, depositing in the bank, that costed me 25,000. That is the penalty I paid. So the 1 lakh was a donation, 25,000 was the penalty I paid, and about I think 2,000-3,000 was the photocopy charges, for all the materials that we had to photocopy, including photos, lots of photos in color, and you had Revenue Department coming at us, IB Intelligence Bureau coming at us for all the right reasons from their perspective. And the police coming and inspecting, we were all, they're all fine. So the thing is, I want to get into FCRA, but once I have a dedicated administrative staff. I have zero administrative staff. So apart from, ensuring that all the animals are living a good life, the day-to-day running also depends on me, either in presence or by phone. So there was a lot of stress when we, had to. Then later I realized that I shouldn't have, disclosed that I received, 1 lakh in, in foreign currency or something. But it's okay. We did as per the law. Never wanted to be on the wrong side of the law. So eventually, yes, the way monthly expenses are about 2.2 lakhs or more than that. Sometimes we have to, take the FCRA route sometime or the other. The transition has to happen because I don't know if people want to give money, and want to see their money being spent on buying grass and oats and wheat bran flakes. There's no sensational story for me to give. I'm only requesting money for feed, basic feed to maintain horses. And donor mindset is not usually inclined towards. We have a few permanent donors from the last many years, but I don't know how far I can, get local support. No, it stopped after 1.5 years. I'm in still touch with the Tanga pony owners, because sometimes when I get calls that there is a pony in this part, mostly it's a few geographic parts of Bangalore, Banshankari, many metro, a few pockets where ponies are spotted by public and they call me. So I get in touch with the Tanga pony people I know and ask them to investigate who's the owner, why he's left it, what is the reason. So that is the only level of my interaction. It's simply because of time constraints.